Oh, hello. Hold on, I'm about to watch House convince this guy that he needs to let his wife die so that he can take her heart. Wait, isn't this girl in another TV show? Is it Community? Guy. I feel like does this guy have like combat experience, or did he like, why is your go-to like, I'm gonna knee this guy? I can't believe Dan said that House wouldn't be a good doctor for real life. Unbelievable. Why is this guy trying to be like a real politician? And he's running alongside Trump. I feel shit. He would just be like, I hate cat ladies. So what? No one likes them. Buy Trump cats. And meanwhile, this guy's like trying to pretend he's like a real politician.
Obviously, it was.
That quote is out of context. I didn't mean it. Like, why is he so? It just seems so weird next to Trump.
Obviously, it was a sarcastic comment. I've got nothing against cats. I've got nothing against dogs. I've got one dog at home, and I love him, Megan. But look, this is not. People are focusing so much on the sarcasm and not on the substance of what I actually said. And the substance of what I said, Megan, I'm sorry, it's true. It is true that we. Obviously, it was a sarcastic comment. I've got nothing.
Ugh.
It's like
This stupid fucking clip.
when you're asked like when you are asked personally, dude, you're a 20-month subscriber, bro. You're so fucking annoying. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Like how do these dumb fucks come in here? Like take the goddamn day off, okay? It's just so frustrating. Anyway, when you're asked
Cats greater than dogs. Damn. I genuinely do not understand why Hassan gets so triggered by that. It's not just Hassan. It's pretty common that streamers are very, very, very insecure about viewership numbers. That's why I guess it's not as much a thing anymore. I don't even know. I don't follow Twitch meta anymore since I'm banned. But like, it's why Twitch streamers would make alternate accounts whenever they wanted to stream other like boring types of content because they couldn't handle seeing their main channels have like a lower concurrent viewership. Stuff like that. It's just... But I mean, that's a really common thing for a lot of streamers. Hey, Zed. Have any thoughts on your debate yesterday? I think it was probably fine. I just wanted to... Andrew Wilson is really good at, like, checking for logical flaws, but he'll never admit that he's wrong. And if you don't have... I don't think if you have, like, a logical flaw in any of your argument, then he switches to, like, insane bad faith mode. So the fact that he started off that debate, I would say, in insanely bad faith mode, I think is pretty indicative of the strength of my argument. A lot of people wanted me to bring up other stuff related to Trump, but I'd gotten emails from people about his debate prep, and apparently he was prepared to like hardcore, like autistically dive into, well, if Trump said this, how many days from this to this does it make for an insurrection? Like, can you say that this? So I was like, okay, I'll just avoid all of that because the event is also focusing on just if January 6th was an insurrection. And I think you could probably prove January 6th as being an insurrection without necessarily having any of the prior Trump stuff. So rather than get in the weeds on all that, we'll just focus on the day. We'll see if he has anything to say about the day. And he didn't. Like when he started off the debate No, he didn't start off the debate, but I think halfway through I asked him, I was like, wait, well, what is your position on this? He's like, well, I have a neutral position. And I'm like, what? Then I think, okay, I'm fine about it, yeah. Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, is this a good time?
It's always a good time for Hutch time.
Great. I'm not going to take up too much of your time.
Take up as much
I
as you
just
want.
had,
What's up?
yeah, I had a mild critique of
Never mind,
your
you got
debate
2 minutes. God, what's up?
I had a mild critique of your debate with Andrew last night. If I was you, and it's easier when you're outside looking in on the debate. He fucking crushed me in a debate like a month and a half ago. But when he was refusing to offer up, and tell me if you've already thought of this, but like when he was refusing to offer up a definition of insurrection, is it not illogical on its face for him to say that riot would be a better descriptor when he himself is not offering any kind of a definition for what like how could he possibly know that riot is a better descriptor if he has no idea what
Yeah, and I feel like we kind of
insurrection
like,
means?
I think we nibbled around the edges that a few times because I asked him, I was like, well, there are examples of riots that don't fit. There are examples of riots that don't fit into my thing of insurrection, but I think that I'm not just making this as an empty accusation, but when you see the pattern of questions and answers that he was asking in that debate, and you saw the way he was conducting himself, I think he had an absolutely losing side, and I think he knew it, and there was absolutely no way to hold on to any part of that. So it was just like the entire strategy was just endlessly obfuscate and endlessly like try to go down into some like weird nonsense area. So if I would have asked that, he would have just said something along the lines of like, if you don't have a definition of insurrection, then how can you, say this doesn't comport with or comports with riot more? He would just find a way to center it back on, well, it's not up to me to have a definition. It's up to you to have a definition for something that doesn't, or whatever. It would have just been more looping on this shit, yeah.
Well, to be clear, I'm not saying that from my perspective, I feel like you lost the debate. That's not my perspective.
Sure.
I'm just saying on that particular point, it makes no sense for him to say, well, riot would just be a better word. In order to say that something is better than something else, you have to offer up something else.
Well, he was comparing it to my definition of insurrection. I do agree, though, that it didn't make any sense. But he also kept saying, like, the thing about, like, resisting and breaking a law. He brought up that point, like, 7 times, despite the fact that I kept correcting him on it, where it's like, just because people are rioting doesn't mean they're resisting the laws of rioting. Like, they're not saying that rioting should be legal. They're usually rioting for some other purpose. But he just kept looping on the same point, which is fine. I think it's because he knows there's, like, no argument, I think, yeah.
That was insane for him to not draw the distinction between just like breaking a law and resisting a law. Like for him to say that if you gather to protest, you're resisting laws about, I don't know, public
protesting,
access to roads or whatever is just.
Oh, and he also looped on the like,
obviously.
No one was charged over and over again as well, despite the fact that I think we agreed on the examples I gave that like you could walk in and see a person with their throat cut and say somebody here was murdered. And nobody would say, well, was somebody charged with murder? Then I guess there was no murder. It's like, wait, what? Yeah.
Well, he's a really clever guy, obviously. And so it was really apparent.
Yeah, he's very verbally adept, yeah.
Very, like 30 minutes into it is really apparent that he had obviously given thought about what his strategy was going to be. And in his mind, I think he just reached the conclusion of like, oh, as long as I don't give him anything on what I think insurrection is, there's no way he can win this argument. And he just like stuck to that, and everything else sprung from that. The whole thing I thought was pretty silly.
It absolutely was. But like I said, he's a very good, he's got a good mind for debate. I hate that I run into so many people like this. He is what people accuse me of being, where he has a very good mind to navigate a debate, and even if he doesn't have the good, like, factual, substantive argument on his side, he'll find a way to make it work. And for a lot of people that he debates, because he is very verbally adept, he can kind of, like, outmaneuver them there. So if there was, like, a hole in my argument somewhere or someplace to tighten it up, like, he's a good person to show it. But if he's literally coming into the debate saying, well, actually, I'm starting on J6 on a neutral position, when we all know that's not his real position, right?
Right.
There's no shot that if somebody asked him, do you think January 6th was an insurrection? They'd go, well, I don't actually have a strong opinion on that. I'm neutral on that. Like, no shot does he feel that way.
Josiah, what did you think?
So I listened to like 80% of it in a NyQuil-induced haze, and a couple of things I was going to ask about. Number one, like the distinction between a riot and an insurrection. Like even if we grant that much of the criteria you established would satisfy a riot and insurrection aren't mutually exclusive, right? So what does that? Am I missing something? What the fuck does that prove? Even if you say like January 6th was a riot, could also be an insurrection, right?
True. Yeah. Also, the same thing with like an insurrection and a rebellion, right? Like every
Right.
single element of an insurrection, I think, is required for a rebellion as well. So every single rebellion can also be described as an insurrection, which is one of the quotes that I read too. Yeah.
Right. So I didn't understand it. The other thing I didn't understand, I sent you a DM, and I was like 2 hours behind when I started, so I don't even know where it ended. But he kept saying Trump was acquitted of insurrection. I didn't know, was he referring to Trump v. Anderson, or was he referring?
No, he said that one time in the very beginning, and I should have asked about that. I don't.
Yeah.
I think the thing also too, especially now as I've dove more into the legal stuff, I don't think he understands much about like the structure of any legal system or like structure of government too. Because when we started fixating on the like, you didn't specify it's federal or not, and I'm like, we're talking about an insurrection in D.C. We're talking about like insurrection in terms of like against the federal government. Like whether or not it is or isn't against the state is not relevant at all to this particular thing. That's not what we're talking about at all. I mean, I guess you can make it apply to it, but I truly don't know if you can commit insurrection against a state. And he seemed incredulous to that. But like, if we would, I think I tweeted out this like, well, what about treason? It's like, well, do you mean federal treason? Like, I don't know if you can commit treason against like a state. Like, can I commit treason against the state of Iowa? I have no idea. I don't think you can.
Even if you granted that premise, it wouldn't undermine your point at all. Even if we just assumed, even if we just accepted.
I know,
like,
but I didn't want to grant it because the reason why he wanted me to grant it is because he wanted to get into BLM, and then he wanted to run through every single like BLM thing. But he also didn't have any of the details of the BLM stuff too, which was also annoying. And it's also a thing that I've noticed where if you're debating, it's true kind of policy. It's especially true when it comes to law and criminal proceedings. Is whenever somebody brings up an event, the first thing you have to ask is, okay, what give me like the fact pattern here? Because somebody's like, oh, Chaz was an insurrection. Like, it might be, it might not be, but do you know how it started? And he has no fucking idea. And it's like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. Maybe it was an insurrection, but maybe it wasn't. Who the fuck knows? You don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. You just have headlines, you know?
Well, I do think it was really, that was one thing I think you did. I mean, you did so many things very well, but one of them was you refused to go down all these fucking rabbit holes. You know, what about Chaz? What about BLM? What about you? You said out the gate, like, if you want to concede that January 6th is an insurrection, I'm happy just for the sake of intellectual exercise to like talk about Chaz and these other things. But you refuse to be led down rabbit holes, which is something I feel. I don't know Andrew Wilson that well, but I know he and Rob Noor are buddies, and I feel like Rob Noor is really, really good about, you know, what about our emails? What about this? What about the Durham report? And kind of moving you off topic. Mm-hmm. And you refused to do that. So I think it was really strong that you did that. But I go back to the acquittal, Trump's acquittal of insurrection. And I just want to say for the record, number one,
he was never even charged with insurrection, so it's impossible for there to be an acquittal.
100%. So number one, if he's referring to the second impeachment, there was a majority of senators who voted to convict. More senators than not voted to convict Trump of impeachment. Okay, 57. I think it was 57 senators. It was 10 short of the supermajority needed to convict him in the Senate. But number two, much of the votes against Trump or against convicting Trump came from Republicans who said they can't convict him because he can't be impeached because he's out of office. So like basically like Mitch McConnell and a bunch of others, they weren't even disputing the impeachment charges. They just didn't think the impeachment was valid because Trump was no longer in office. So it's not like there was any factual dispute. Like he's almost suggesting that, you know, a majority of people thought that Trump didn't commit insurrection. Well, there were people who voted not to convict him because they just didn't think the impeachment was valid.
Yeah,
and then
but I would also I wouldn't even entertain this rabbit hole because, and I don't like the language of impeachment the way that it's used because it sounds like a criminal proceeding, but it's not.
Sure.
Impeachment in the House and then conviction or acquittal in the Senate has absolutely nothing to do with any formal criminal charge, and it has absolutely nothing to do with any actual criminal charge. Like, you can impeach for anything that you want, and then you can convict in the Senate for anything you want. That conviction only carries with it the penalty of removal from office and prevention of holding future office. It has nothing to do with an actual criminal proceeding, and it has nothing to do with declaring a particular situation a thing or not a thing. When we were declaring, well, go ahead, you can if you want. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a minute since I've looked at that Bowd and Paulson paper, but I thought that, you know, not the entirety of their argument, but one of the pillars of their argument was that, you know, in determining whether or not January 6th was an insurrection, there's congressional legislation condemning January 6th as an insurrection. So I think it's fair to say, you know, what Congress says with respect to like a resolution or a censure or even an impeachment, I think it's fair to cite that as proof that January 6th was an insurrection. And to kind of talk about what Congress has to say about the matter.
So I would have to go back. I don't remember that in that paper. I'd have to go back and read it. But if it was the case that they're citing congressional legislation, then Okay, we're about to get very into the weeds. Okay, so in terms of figuring out like a criminal charge, whether or not somebody committed a particular crime, that is exclusively under the purview of the judicial system. Okay, now if somebody's making an argument, well, look, you could see that this was probably an insurrection because of what Congress said at the time. When you're leaning on Congress for that argument there, you're not leaning on Congress for a conviction or to evaluate if somebody did an insurrection. You'd be leaning onto Congress there for a definition of insurrection to give you an idea of what they meant when they passed a particular statute relating to insurrection. So if in the hold on. In that paper that they wrote, were you talking about when Congress was speaking about insurrection historically?
No, again, I don't have it in front of me, but I could have swore that Bowd and Paulson reference, like when they're making the case that January 6th was an insurrection, one of the things they cited, I was almost certain was the articles of impeachment against Donald Trump and the fact that 57 senators voted to convict him of it, and I think there were some other congressional, I don't know if it was censure or some sort of like piece of Congress condemning January 6th as an insurrection. I thought it was one of the many things they cited in that paper.
Sure, okay.
To make the case
They might,
January 6th
yeah, they might have, but then, but if they are citing that, it's not necessarily to say that like, this sounds so nitpicky, but it's not necessarily to say that like Congress determined that it was insurrection, more so to show the common understanding of like, well, clearly this would have fit the definition of insurrection. I understand what you're saying. I'm getting really nitpicky there, but
it's fine. And well, it's also you're making the distinction between the fact of the matter and the criminal charge, which by the way, the whole point's moot anyway, because, and I think you brought this up again, maybe it's the NyQuil talking, but there were people to whom Section 3 of the 14th Amendment applied, and they were never, ever, 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 ever charged, let alone convicted of insurrection. So the whole to me, the whole thing about, this person wasn't charged with insurrection, it's completely irrelevant, has nothing to do with Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. To me, the thing that I kept getting hung up on was when he kept saying that Trump was acquitted. Again, there are little asterisks beside the impeachment acquittal. And then Trump v. Anderson, the Supreme Court didn't even weigh in on whether or not January 6th was an insurrection or if Trump was an insurrectionist. They just, they didn't even address that.
I just don't think any of this, like, honestly matters. I think if January 6th was ultimately successful, like if the mob had successfully convinced Pence to reject those slates and send them back to the states, he would have been applauding it. Like he would have been 100% behind it.
That is true, but you don't have to hinge your argument on whether or not
Andrew.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, true, yeah. But you don't have to hinge your argument on the success, though, because that's ridiculous. It's not like things become insurrections just because they're successful enough to, But also, this is like a hyper-specific thing.
Any of these precedents, I don't think Andrew cares about any of these like legal precedents or court decisions or court opinions or whatever. Like none of that matters. I think he was working backwards to get to the premise of whatever he was trying to go for. Like,
of course.
He was saying he was good faith. I just don't think he was at all. Like,
no, of course not. No. But that's okay. Like I said, I was just making sure if I survive like the logical scrutiny from whatever he's got, then I know that it's pretty airtight for this. And I'm just trying to build because I have to start debating actual conservatives on this too. So I'll be looking for more people. I debate Prager I think in an hour and a half, and this is going to come up. So.
What are you debating him about? Do you know what the topic
good luck
is?
Good luck with that. I'm out of here. Good talking with you.
All right, see you, Hutch.
I think it's going to be relating to Trump stuff, but it'll always be about this when I'm debating a conservative.
You said off stream, but I assume somebody's like, it's going to be on his channel? Like we're able to see it.
David Pakman set it up somehow.
Oh, shit. Oh, Pakman's moderating?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice. All right, good, man. Well, listen, no, I thought it was really entertaining what I saw. Are you is this like the start? Are you going on like multiple debates with people? Because like with Wilson and then Prager, are you like?
Yeah, it's going to be the conservative rampage. Yes, especially now with all my legal understandings and all my Supreme Court readings, and now diving into all of the Clark and like I just have such a better factual like foundation. I have like a better conceptual foundation of everything. Like I can criticize every single part of that Georgia call now. Like just the fact that call even exists, there are so many reasons why that call is inappropriate, and I just have a much better foundation now for critiquing it. But we'll see if anybody wants to take up those debates. I'm not holding my breath.
I should say too, because I don't know how much time you've had to like keep track of the election and stuff, but again, so far, knock on wood, we're still in the honeymoon phase, but things are going pretty well for the vice president. more than $200 million raised in less than a week. She finally got the endorsement of Barack Obama.
Oh my God, Trump can't. I don't know if Trump can dodge that debate. If I was Kamala, I would be tweeting that every single day, like day since Donald Trump dodged debate. And yeah, anytime, any place. Remember when he said that? Anytime, any place. Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, now what they're hanging up on, or what they're doing now, is that was with Biden, and your guy backed out, so the whole agreement is void. He's kind of like got a foot in both worlds though, because he's also suggesting that they do it on Fox. My question is, you tell me, should she call his bluff and say, "Fuck yeah, I'll debate you on Fox," or no?
I think she should do it on Fox. Yeah, fuck it. Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
That's my thought. Is like, what would she have to lose, really? I mean, and that might be sufficient to call his bluff there too.
Yep, she should do it on Fox, and she should call him old, over and over again. That was their big hit. He was old.
Yeah. Some people on Twitter and some people in like the comment section on my channel, because I've been making that case too, are like, it's really hypocritical for you to have defended Biden, which I did, on the age incompetence thing, but then say that Kamala should hit Trump on that. And it's like, well, my position was that both Trump and Biden were A, old, B, gaffe machines, and C, the polls showed that half or a majority of Americans had doubts about the age and mental fitness of both of them. So given that they were both vulnerable, the reason I was still backing Biden is because I thought, his record was much better. So he, on the thing that mattered most, presidential competence in terms of like getting your actual agenda accomplished, Biden was just objectively more competent than Trump.
Yeah.
But now that Biden's at, like, fuck yeah, Trump's still vulnerable on this. I don't think it's hypocritical at all. It's not unprincipled. It's a
not. And
vulnerability.
stop playing defense. Why would these? Don't play defense with these fucking losers. Somebody like, well, didn't you defend Biden? I don't know. I don't remember. Isn't Trump old as fuck? Stop playing defense against people with no fucking values. Okay, these people have no values. They are ghouls. Okay, don't stop letting conservatives like set the. I don't know why they can set the agenda. Don't let them do it. Okay.
No, I totally agree. That's why I think she should. I think she should go on offense all the way. And then the other one too, which people they clutch their pearls about, is calling him a rapist or sexual abuser. I mean, I think that's fair game too. The presiding judge said that colloquially or by common parlance, he raped E. Jean Carroll.
And if you want to be very technical about it, I didn't point this out, but Kamala, I guess maybe because she was an attorney general prosecutor, Kamala said it absolutely correctly. When she was on stage, she said something about like, I used to convict people who did sexual assault, and she said, and Trump has been held liable for raping a woman or something. That's the correct terminology to use. We're going to use it. It was a civil case. He was liable for those damages, and that's how that case resulted. So just say he was liable for rape. It's technically correct. It's absolutely correct. Yeah, fuck him.
And the other thing,
also, hold on. I'm so sorry. Okay, if anybody wants to pearl clutch over that, then just throw up the 50 trillion stupid fucking pictures they have of Biden like smelling some girl's hair, or whatever, and tell them to eat shit and kick rocks. Or if they get upset at that, show them all the fucking pictures of the Epstein fly log with Bill Clinton, and then ask them why they've been silent on Donald Trump being there. Don't play defense.
All the times he's publicly said he wants to fuck his own daughter.
Yeah,
how about that?
Don't play defense. These guys are subhuman, actually. Like.
Hey, are you happy? That's the other thing to get to ask you about. It seems like poor Piers is getting like his shit kicked in. First it was Luke, then you, then Mehdi, then like that, then Brian Tyler Cohen, and then he had another one the other day, and Harry Sisson, who's like a Gen Z TikToker. You feel like a lot of people are taking up the mantle of calling out the double standard every fucking time they get in front of peers. Mm-hmm. You feel accomplished in that regard, having rang that bell?
Maybe. I mean, listen, if it was because of me, then so be it. I'll take credit for it, yeah.
But I saw you say something a couple of days ago. I walked so you could run.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because Mehdi, I think Mehdi... Pierce either brought me up or Mehdi brought me up. Yeah, I was expecting Mehdi to shit on me, but yeah. I also have to be careful because like it's very easy to fly high on the audience shit, because now there's like a lot of communities that traditionally fucking hate me that are now saying really positive things about me. So you gotta be careful. Don't get audience capture. I'll have to find something to piss off lefties soon. But after the election.
I do hope. So I was supposed to interview Mehdi back in June, and they were like, well, because we had this going on, we'll try for August. I'm hoping, and I'm going to bring this up, see if you two will have a conversation, because obviously I know there's some stark disagreements, particularly with respect to foreign policy, on Gaza in particular.
Wait, with who?
with Mehdi Hassan.
Oh, I
You
don't.
and
I don't
Mehdi.
like, not to risk pre-destroying that bridge, but I think he's like one of the very standard like British interview type people. Like
Oh, yeah.
like Mehdi and Piers Morgan to me are like clones of each other, which are slightly different political
Stop.
positions.
I was about to say, no, it's not slightly. I mean, come on. I mean, like, they definitely have that, the British style of interviewing where they're definitely like, they're aggressors. And there's a guy you should look up if you ever get the free time. His name is James O'Brien. He's on
I've seen a lot of
LBC.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, he wrecked Piers Morgan a couple of years ago on Piers's like culture war obsession. It's one of the best interviews ever, and he definitely has that style. But I think you guys could have a really really good conversation because I know there's some like substantive
I
disagreements.
mean, we fought
there,
on
but also-
Twitter back and forth a little bit before, so I mean, if it happens,
Did you guys
we'll see.
ever like? Did you ever?
Tried to, but
you
no,
all-
I don't think it never evolved anything else. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to bring it up and try to make that happen because I think this is a time for alliances, man. I mean, like even Mehdi, like whatever disagreements you guys have, and he's been obviously very outspoken to President Biden. But one of the things I think is really cool about what he does is he goes hard on Biden about Gaza, but he never, ever, ever gives an inch on Biden's domestic policy.
That's good.
So like. No, 100%. So, like, when people are like, what are your beef with Biden? He's like, I think that he's enabling Netanyahu's genocide against the Palestinians, blah, blah. But then he'll say, literally, when it comes to domestic policy, he's by far the most progressive president, most successful president in my lifetime. And he's almost like Stannis Baratheon in Game of Thrones. A bad deed doesn't wash away the good or vice versa. So he's like, he makes sure he emphasizes the shit in every conversation he has about Biden. So I think it'd be a really productive conversation between the two of you.
That's good.
But all right, buddy. Well, listen. Good luck with the debate, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have fun.
See you, buddy.
Can you take a look at the first 5 minutes of Dr. K's stream today? Maybe. Hold on. I'm curious if they brought up the congressional impeachment thing. I'm trying to find the reference to that in this paper. Another finding noted the historical magnitude and symbolic importance of that insurrection against democracy, the desecration of the U.S. Capitol, which is the temple of American democracy, the violence, the impeachment charges brought against President Trump as a result of January 6th were equally explicit in concluding the events of January 6th constituted an insurrection. Okay, so they're citing to the fact that the impeachment clause calls out high crimes and misdemeanors, I think, in this paper, and then they're saying that Congress had made a similar determination as well. Our assessment of the events of January 6th, specifically as an insurrection, confirms the judgment made by public authorities. An act of Congress to award 4 congressional gold medals to U.S. Capitol Police and those who protected the U.S. Capitol on January 6th from the events of January 6th constitute. Okay, yeah. So they're just like building to the to all of the different other types of people that have also agreed with the opinion. I hate that Pisco sent me down this rabbit hole. That Supreme Court case was wacky. I can't believe they just like axed part of an amendment because it would have hurt Trump. Whatever. Okay, hold on. I'll be back and then we'll do the Dr. K stuff, I guess. Hold on one second. One second. What do you mean they axed part of an amendment? They basically nullified Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, or they changed it to basically be just doesn't really apply. Oh, ho, ho. I did a little bit of reading. I ordered a new GPU last night. I don't know anything about these. What is the book you recommend to improve writing? Was it Elements of Style? Yeah, I think so. All 9 justices agree that the states couldn't enforce Section 3. Do you disagree with that or just with the self-executing aspect of the opinion? Both. I think both are incorrect. I think both are easily and demonstrably incorrect. The self-executing part is just wholly ridiculous. And for me to be convinced about the fact that the states couldn't enforce it, something in the Constitution would have to show... actually, wait a second. What was added by... constitutional amendment? Was it an amendment for term limits? The YouTube stream does not work, dude. What do you mean by that? Did anyone hear about the Republican senator who called for a civil war if Trump didn't win? Nope. So Section 3 is, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector or president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state having blah, 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 right? No person shall, right? I'd have to go back and reread the specific wording of the opinion, but this idea that it was just nonsense. Like, this part doesn't make any sense. Congress's Section 5 power is critical when it comes to Section 3. This is the self-executing part. This is stupid. And I will say it's stupid because they didn't give a good argument for it. When they say that the Section 5 says, the Congress shall have power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. Just because Congress has the power to enforce something doesn't mean that it's not part of the law if Congress hasn't passed legislation for it. A great example of this is Section 1, right? Section 1, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the U.S. and the state where no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. Nobody has to pass equal protections laws. Congress didn't have to pass a law for Brown v. Board of Education. And Brown v. Board, I think, cites to equal protections in the 14th Amendment is saying, like, well, no, like separate but equal doesn't work, right? We didn't need a law from Congress for that. The idea that you need a law to make some part of the Constitution apply is absurd. That's not how the Constitution works. I'm sorry. The Constitution sits above everything else in government. The wording here, I think, was similar enough. The 22nd Amendment is no person shall be elected to the office of president more than twice. So I don't know where this idea that like Congress has to pass a law or it's not self-executing or it was just bullshit. This decision was given because people knew that if some states could keep Trump off the ballot and some people couldn't, it would probably lead to fucking mayhem. So that's the reason why. I agree with you on self-executing, but if I recall, the logic of the opinion for state enforcement was that the point of the 14th Amendment in its entirety was to limit state power. No, what? The point of the 14th Amendment was to prevent people who had engaged in insurrection or rebellion from holding office in the United States. What do you mean? It's very obvious what the goal was. Were you satisfied with Myron's moderation? Yeah, Myron is a decent moderator, I think. As good as any, probably one of the best ones that I've had. Seems to be pretty impartial, yeah. Yeah, I think Amy gives in her concurrence. I think Amy might be my favorite justice. Maybe. Sotomayor writes well, too. Actually, Gorsuch writes well. Those three, I think, are, all three of them, I appreciate their writing. But even some of this, I don't. But she balks at the self-executing arguments that the majority writes here. Doesn't require us to address the complicated question whether federal legislation is the exclusive vehicle through which Section 3 can be enforced. Amy gave the bad reasons of explicitly political reasoning in Anderson, if I recall. So somebody emailed me this, and I'll allow it. Let me read this email. I thought it was an okay. Can I find this? Fuck, did I delete this? Oh no, it was this. Actually, no, I'm not gonna read this whole email. Somebody emailed me and he said that my statement on stream was I feel like Amy's decision here was political, and I don't like that she, in her writings, she explicitly says, oh, we need to do this to turn down the temperature of the country. That was my criticism of Amy. And a guy emailed me and he said, well, you should read her statement more carefully. Amy doesn't say that courts should make decisions based on what would be politically expedient for the country. She said that the writings of the court should turn down the temperature, which is a substantively different thing. And I went back and I reread, and he's right. The majority's choice of a different path leaves the remaining justices with a choice of how to respond. In my judgment, this is not the time to amplify disagreement with stridency. The court has settled a politically charged issue in the volatile season of a presidential election. Particularly in this circumstance, writings on the court should turn the national temperature down, not up. Writings. So taking her at her word here, she's not saying that we should be making political decisions to make the country, feel better, but that what the court chooses to opine on, what the indicta writings, what the non-holding writings, what the court wants to write about, shouldn't be making people more antsy. It should turn the temperature down. I think that's a lot more agreeable. I'll give that interpretation. More merit than mine. I think that's a good way of viewing it. Yeah. I'm a certified Amy simp. I just wish she wouldn't choose to side with the other Republicans for what feels like just because. Well, so here's the thing. I might be, by the way, so full disclosure, I've only read probably 5 Supreme Court decisions cover to cover in my entire life, okay? Which is 5 more than every single other content creator I listen to. But there's a lot more that I haven't read, okay? Amy, to me, feels like if it was a 5-4 court, I feel like she would swing. But I could be completely fucking wrong on that. And I could completely and totally misunderstand how people rule or where they would go. But I feel like on the immunity thing, if there was one more liberal and there was one less conservative, I feel like Amy would be your deciding vote, and she would have swung to the other side. When I look at her concurring opinion on the on that case, but yeah. Did you like her Dobbs decision? I think I read through Dobbs. I think we did Dobbs on stream, but I think I read through that before I started Vyvan, so I didn't have as good of a legal background. But I can interpret I have a much better understanding of where everybody is coming from when they write these now. So I would have to reread Dobbs to understand what I think my opinion on it should be. Have you listened to Strict Scrutiny, the podcast? Nope. I don't think so. I've never heard it before. Destiny, they don't write the opinions their aides do? Wow. No, wait, what? No. For Supreme Court opinions? The writing should be the Supreme Court justices. No? He's right. The clerks write the opinions and the justices finalize them. Is there a source for that? Because the writings of these justices are significantly different. unless they find clerks that also like write and side with them. Or I guess they have to give a lot of guidance to the clerks. Maybe they basically write out like, this is what I want the opinion to be, and then the clerks kind of like formalize it and then they finalize it. My face when they use ChatGPT, yeah. We watched some more news video on Tim Pool. You briefly mentioned. Oh, well, if they mention me. Rereading Citizens United, yeah, with a better legal understanding would also be really interesting, yeah. Zoom constantly changes the volume of my microphone. It's really fucking annoying. Will the Pac-Man debate be streamed everywhere? Nah, he's probably uploading that to his channel. I think that's a Windows issue. No, there's got to be some setting in Zoom that is like automatically adjusting your microphone volume. Let's see if I can find it real fast. Will you stream after the debate? Yeah, sure. Automatic. It's this right here. Automatically adjust microphone. Okay, turn this off. What do you think of JD Vance? Most of America didn't even know this guy. I don't know. I don't understand the pick at all. Where's he from again? From Ohio. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What do I know? Nothing. So I read something that I did a very, very tiny amount of research. I read that graphics cards, if you're trying to graph like the amount of performance you can get out of a graphics card versus the power that you put in, that it like, that it ends up, it takes on like a shape like this basically, where like you can get a GPU to work at like 80% of the performance or something. Like if this is performance and this is power, yes, I will use. No. Performance, power. That like at 80% of the power of a card, you basically get like I'm sorry. At like 20% of the power, you can get like 80% of the performance. Something crazy like this. I don't know. I was reading, some guy recommended this. So I bought this GPU yesterday. That's coming in the mail. We'll see if it ends up working or not. Supposedly hardware encoding is very, very, very good now, or it's like the standard, I guess, for streaming. And this one does like onboard AV1. This graphics card apparently does, so it does onboard encoding for as many different streams as you want. But the max draw for this is 75 watts. What the fuck? You bought it at 1.3K? I don't know. This is just what the guy recommended. It seems expensive, but... Can't every RTX card do that? Yeah, I mean, I think all of them can now, but the max power draw on this is like... I think it is. I think it's like 75 watts. It's insane. So we'll see how this ends up working out in the streaming rig. It's also It's also very, 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 very fucking small. You know, you can lower the wattage on a 4090 to whatever you want. Yeah, but I don't know if the encoding and everything would work the same and whatever, and all of that shit. I don't know enough about. What am I looking for? 4,000. Look at how small this card is.
$44. This doesn't look like a GPU that I would be
Watch
remotely
this. Look at
interested in, does it? Look at it. And yet, here we are. More importantly, I'm surprised, stunned even.
Look at how tiny this little card is. Oh my god. Why not go with an Intel GPU for AV1 encoding? This does AV1 encoding. What is an Intel GPU? Is it better than this? Is power usage a concern for you? Yes, I keep flipping this stupid fucking breaker. It's pissing me off. And I think that when I'm living in apartments, I have so much, I'm loading these circuits a lot, right? Like I've got 2 fully functional computers. I've got 2 big ass monitors, my channel strips. I've got like all my lights. Like there's just a lot of load on the circuits. And if I don't know how much, I wonder how much power, is it hardware, HW, is it hardware monitor? I wonder how much power this 1080 Ti is drawing on idle. I'm not sure. Hardware monitor. Hardware monitor should show, right? Do you think? Ugh.
Buenos dias, señor.
Hello, hello.
So, I hear you're flipping some breakers.
Yeah.
I got that on reliable source.
Okay.
What are your 2 rigs that you have right now?
What is this god awful fucking program? Zoom close. Okay, sorry. Jesus Christ. Okay. I've got a streaming rig and a gaming rig.
Yep. What are they? The 2 of them.
What do you want?
CPU and GPU.
The one on the left, I think, is a 7980XE.
Okay, so that's ancient.
Yes. It's a 7980XE paired with a 1080 Ti, just because offline TV had an extra one that I took. And then on the right, I think I've got a 3090 Ti.
This is the gaming PC, right?
Yeah, gaming,
okay.
aka
Okay.
Obsidian.
Okay, 3090 Ti and I'm guessing like a 10900.
That's my
maybe
guess. Oh no,
or
just a
an
3090 and maybe a 10900. Does DXDiag show you your fucking processor? Oh no, wait. Actually, wait. This should. Hold on. Yes, 10900K.
Thinking. That's probably fine. I wonder what the wattage is that you're using just for that device. You can use, I think HW Info is free and does that.
Yeah, that's what I'm
You know-
downloading now. I'm curious with the power card draw on my
Yeah, that's what I use.
Hold on. I need all of my
Oh, you
brain
know-
power to figure out which download button on this website is the right download button. One sec.
Yeah, they do. They do love
Holy
having
shit.
multiple download buttons.
Okay, versions. It's this download button. Okay, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
A big thing that you can do to lower your power on your streaming PC is I bet you have everything set to maximum performance and you don't need to be. And you can put it to let Windows decide, and that will, well, first let's see what your baseline power is. And I guarantee there's like 2 or 3 major things you can do to lower power consumption, especially since it's not a gaming PC. That'll make a big difference. Number 1.
So real quick before you go into this, so using anything beyond high performance gave me a lot of issues in the past streaming, because if Windows tries to underclock some stuff or reduce power to some stuff, it might lag certain parts of your computer if you're streaming. Number 1, and number 2, I am like this. Remember,
Actually, it doesn't even matter for the streaming PC because you need to replace that. That's ancient. You should just get like.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the next line of chips, I think, from AMD to come out in a couple weeks, and I'll probably just end up replacing the whole rig.
Yeah, AMD stuff is really power efficient for what it is. Like I have a 7950 X3D,
Yeah.
which is pretty good, but you don't need the 3D stuff for
Yeah.
streaming. But I'm curious on your gaming PC, that you could probably do a lot of tweaking.
Considering I don't really game on it much now, probably.
Yeah.
I should just get
I'm not sure how you're tripping. Sorry, how you're tripping that. Like, even if it's the worst type of, if it's a 15 amp, that's gonna be 1800 watts. Do you really have 1800 watts of shit?
Wait, I feel like when I mathed this out before, I feel like it trips at 1200 watts.
I wonder if you have there other stuff on a circuit in another room, but still, do you have 1200 watts going right now?
Well, it'll trip, I think, at 90%. So then it's a little bit less than that. And then, yeah, I think that's fairly easy-ish for me to hit that. So right now, I'm looking at I think my UPSs only see what I have plugged into the backup battery, right? It's not showing me.
No, it should show the total usage.
Oh no, it doesn't. It's only in the battery. I know this because Cake told me this because I was so mind fucked because I've got two UPSs that only do 850 watts. So in my mind, it was impossible to trip anything. But apparently, they only show you the wattage on the window that's going through the backup battery part, the load.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
That's correct. Yes.
So looking at just on the backup battery part right now, like I'm showing 100 watts on my gaming rig, and I'm showing about 400 watts on my streaming rig.
Okay.
Okay.
What else do you have that's
Well, what else I have is it's just all my lights, my gaming computer, and my streaming rig. The issue is just going to be that whenever something comes up or something happens where it's starting to like cause more power draw from these things, it only has to hit right. A trip is just, an instantaneous increase in wattage that flips the circuit, and then that's it. So if something is happening on my gaming computer, I think like if the room gets hotter, that might impact it a little bit as well. It only has to go up a little bit, I guess, to trip the circuit. But like I'm running like this, like my gaming computer, I ran that power cable into the other room to try to move these off of like into a separate circuit. So just fucking annoying.
interesting?
Hardware monitor. Okay, let me check. Oh God, did you see that happy birthday thing?
What? No.
Tom Clancy and a bunch of other Twitch people, I guess, called Hassan and sang happy birthday to him. Did you know that Hassan is 33 years old? Well, I don't understand how he makes fun of me for my age all the time. I'm so confused.
Yeah, I also get confused at that, actually, when people like you make fun of my age.
Yeah.
It's also very strange to me. Does it feel upsetting when he makes fun of your age only being 3 years or whatever younger than you?
Well,
2 years?
it's 2 years, whereas you're like
Okay.
12 years.
Oh, 12 years? I think we're pretty close.
Wait,
Pretty
does hardware
close.
monitor not show power
It
draw?
does. Wait, HW Info 64. What are you using?
Oh, HW monitor. The fuck is HW info?
That's the Poggers one.
Okay, what do we have? We've got voltages, temperatures. Oh, power package. Yeah. 115 watts. Okay, that's on the CPU. Voltages, temperatures. Tools, view. Is there a way on a hardware monitor to just view like the whole system power draw, or?
I actually don't know what hardware monitor is. I only know HW Info 64.
Huh, this is the one that I always use.
Hardware monitor. This is HW from CPU Z. Is this what this shit is?
That sounds right. Next time
Well,
a
yeah,
breaker
you-
flips, check which outlets are out. I know which ones go out. I know what it is. I mean I can like rewire and fuck with shit, but I don't have any trips now because I've like reconfigured shit a little bit, but it's pretty rare that I get one. It happens occasionally, but
So have you already bought all the parts for your new PCs, or are you deciding if you want to change anything on your gaming PC? I don't think you need to.
I definitely won't touch this one. On the streaming one, I want to replace it probably with the whole AMD system, but I'm waiting because there's always like a new chip coming out. There's like a new chip in like 2 weeks, so I'll wait for that to come out and order that.
So does that show you your graphics power and your yeah? So what's your wattage on your CPU and what's your wattage on your GPU right now?
On my GPU, it says, I'm assuming that GPU is adding all of these together. It says 78.62 watts.
Okay. And then CPU is what?
For CPU, it's 120. So it's drawing about 200 watts together, I guess. Yeah.
On your gaming PC, try going to your power settings real quick and try changing it to let Windows decide.
Fuck that shit.
Why?
Because it always gives me huge problems, and I feel like
You can on your gaming PC, it's going to give you problems.
Well, my gaming PC isn't the thing that's tripping. That's never on a tripping breaker right now, so I haven't fucked with that. Honestly, the power settings on this might actually even be that. I don't think I've fucked with these. It's only my streaming PC that irritates me. Change advanced power. Oh, no, it is on high performance, yeah. Fuck.
Well, I mean, it probably doesn't matter very much then. Whatever. If it's on a different circuit, who gives a fuck?
What's the last new game you've played?
New game?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see.
I think the monitor that Dan got for the studio, that one you said does authentic HDR.
Yeah.
I feel like gaming and like a horror game or something on that would look really cool. That monitor does look really, really, really nice. The actual HDR shit looks really good.
Yeah, HDR stuff is so good. If content is like I don't know, but it'll be really nice when Twitch eventually lets you stream in HDR, or YouTube as well. I think that'll be super cool.
When they let you what?
Stream in HDR. Like for instance, iPhones, the camera, you can record HDR video. Like most of those walking through Japan HDR 4K, those are actually just shot on the latest iPhones because they can do it.
But you're saying the actual video encoding doesn't encode enough or the right range of information to display HDR on YouTube?
Yeah, you can't stream HDR on Twitch, and I don't think you can stream HDR on YouTube. That would be sick if you could. If you can, that would be amazing.
Maybe, yeah. Consolidate your channel strips makes your interface cloud lifters into one 2-channel army interface and save 1 billion watts. Unironically, maybe.
Hold on, you can stream HDR video to YouTube. Oh my God. Steven.
Well, yeah, because I was going to say, because don't you... We watched HDR video on YouTube, right?
Yeah, well, no, they have HDR video there that like you can upload, but I didn't think that they would support it for streaming, and they fucking do. Bro, you are denying us with a superior viewing experience for us YouTube watchers.
My guess is going to be less than 2% of people have HDR monitors.
No, we will all buy HDR monitors under your Amazon affiliate link immediately if you do this.
When less than 40% of people are using 1080p monitors, I'll take you. I'll believe
Listen,
you. Okay.
not only will your camera be in HDR, so we can feel like we're there. When you watch HDR content and when you play HDR games, we're going to get the HDR experience as well for all of that Steven gameplay. Like I'm talking about when you're pulling up Wikipedia. Oh man, the colors, they're going to be unreal.
Yeah. Wait, is the AV1 stuff, when you guys watch AV, everybody's encoding on hardware now, right? I'm like the only person still doing this H.264 bullshit. Is the AV1 encoder, does that actually look a lot better? Can you guys tell a difference? I don't know why I'm asking, chat. This is like the most niche fucking tech bullshit. Fuck, I should just get another Army interface. I could replace my whole audio bullshit in my room with that. Maybe not. Fuck that. Do you mean NVENC? No, I mean AV1. I'm using NVENC. I switched this to NVENC, so I stopped lagging on this computer because I'm like, I don't think it's as good on a 1000 series GPU as the X264 encodes I was giving you. However, I'm not gaming now, so you don't really need like fucking cutting edge. I'm not playing FPS or anything, so it doesn't matter. YouTube does support AV1. Are you gonna bring up your debate strategy versus Prager? Did you learn anything from last night? No, last night it was just more kind of like a torture test or a sanity check maybe or something for like definition of insurrection. My actual debates are going to be far easier because one, I don't think Andrew debates in good faith when he knows that he's lost on a point. So it's more just like a torture test for my definitions. And then two, I also knew that Andrew, the reason why there's a whole bunch of other behavior of Donald Trump that I could go into, but that was a debate very specifically about January 6th and not Donald Trump. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that I couldn't bring up in that debate that I would in any other debate. So.
Oh, have you seen I mean, kind of related to tech news, but not really. Actually, yes, it is. Have you seen the latest thing about the two new keyboards, the Huntsman V3 and the Wooting, and like the new feature that they introduced, which is like kind of destroying CS:GO a little bit? Have you read at all about this? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Nope. You're not about. It's not AI, is it?
No. Okay. I'll send you a link to it. It's actually really cool. I bought the Wooting one because I think it.
Huntsman V3. Wait, real quick. Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Why? Okay. Do you remember when Arya found her wolf again in the fucking forest and she saw all the other wolves and then they had that moment? What the fuck was the point of that if that wolf was never going to be brought back again in the entirety of the rest of the fucking show? What the fuck was the point of that, Dan? That's what I thought. Okay, hold on. I'm clicking. First link or second link?
First one.
This video isn't available anymore. Good job. Second
What?
one? Uh-oh. Must have been embargoed. Came out too early.
With this, it's their new keyboard which basically has null-bind scripts built in, now giving you perfect non-overlapping inputs. In other words, you can now have the fastest counter-strafes imaginable and also the most insane AD spamming.
Oh. Interesting. No overlapping input. Does that count as cheating?
I mean, considering that they're building it into more keyboards now, I
Uh-huh.
think the answer is just going to be no. And just everyone's going to be expected to have to upgrade their keyboard.
Interesting. Okay, so that's one. I'm sorry, were there other features of this board that people are talking about, or was it just the non-overlapping input thing?
So that's the Wooting. The other big thing it has is that it's like for what do you call like the PoE style games? I guess in like League and whatnot. Like the second you lift up on a key even a little bit, it's like reset. You don't have to let it go all the way up to the top and then go back down again. So like if you lift it up a little bit and then press down again, it's immediately as another press, as opposed to like normal keyboards where you have to actually go and reset it and push down again. So you like any actuation up and down whatsoever counts basically.
Gotcha.
Which is
Real quick, sorry, Destiny, can you explain? So on a keyboard, on new keyboards, okay, some fucking retard, I can see into you. Okay, listen, I see you right now, okay? I see you, okay? You're a 45-year-old crusty fucking loser, all right? And you were already halfway through the sentence. Actually, Destiny, back when the PS2 input was the standard, the way that keyboards would register keystrokes was actually... Okay, I see you. If you finish typing that sentence, you're permabanned from every single fucking platform that I have, okay? Shut the fuck up. Okay, anyway, I think most keyboards today on modern technology, USB, okay, when you have multiple keys input at the same time, it will register multiple keys input at the same time. If you want to do a quick test of this, before this doesn't work, I think that like if you were to hold down, if you were to smash your hand on the keyboard on like 5 different keys at once, it will actually repeat 5 different keys at once. Hold on. Okay, well, it's doing 2 at once right there, basically.
The last one is the one that gets repeated, right?
Nope, it can do multiple. Is it just 2? I thought you could do more than 2. Sorry, I'll check this a little bit.
Mine only
Maybe
does
only
one.
does 2. It should if you do it. As long as you have, there's a feature called N key rollover that has to, but regardless of all that, you don't have to get too technical. Basically, you hold down multiple keys of a keyboard at once. Usually it will, it'll either recognize both inputs or maybe in some cases, if you hold down 2 at once, it'll, or if you push one and you're holding it down and then you push the other, it'll switch to the other key, right? It sounds like this keyboard, however, has a feature to where if you're holding down one key, you're holding down this key, and then you push your finger on this key won't actuate on the computer. It won't send the input until you lift your hand or your finger off of this key. It seems minor, and I don't know in a professional sense if it would matter, but if you were doing things like toggling a corner, or you're like trying to scope or whatever, and you're moving back and forth for a corner, you could just hold down one key and just slowly like lift your finger up and off of another one to move around corners or to do stuff like this. And there might be other implications. I haven't played FPS in a long time. I don't know the modern.
I mean,
Overwatch
someone linked it. I guess the correct URL, if you scroll up, well, I think it's actually off the screen now. But anyways, it's like 120 millisecond advantage that you literally get. It's insane. Yeah, in Counter-Strike.
You mean it must be 12 MS advantage?
No, 120 for like this counter strafing thing versus doing it otherwise. I'll find you the one that I fucked up the first one. Hold on.
You can show me 120 milliseconds. That's an ungodly amount of time. There's no way. But hold on, wait. Okay, give me 5 minutes. I'm just gonna watch this video. Okay, hold on.
No. Don't watch that. Don't watch that one. Watch this one.
Okay.
This one. There you go. I forgot the G at the end of the URL.
This is what game movement looks like on Razer's new keyboard. It achieves perfect strafing inputs. No movement overlap, no delay between direction changes. This movement accuracy is 100% impossible on a normal keyboard, and in the past, this way of input handling has been determined as cheating. Razer, though, are calling it SnapTap. It's a free update that's available on their Huntsman V3 analog keyboards, and after testing this thing out, it is 100% something that we need to talk about. Normal gaming keyboards look like this. You've got a 2mm actuation point. Beyond that, the key is active, and above that point, the key is reset. That's pretty much it. The main issue here is that there's a lot of delay between what you intend to happen when you press or release a switch and the point when that actually happens. But then, Wooding mostly fixed this.
Wait, I'm so sorry.
Normal gaming keyboards look like this. You've got a 2mm actuation point. Beyond that, the key is active, and above that point, the key is reset. That's pretty much it. The main issue here is that there's a lot of delay between what you intend to happen when you press or release a switch and the point when that actually happens. But then, Wooding mostly fixed this. They came out with their adjustable actuation points, making the press delay basically as minimal as you'd want, along with a feature called Rapid Trigger.
This must be, this has to be like a proprietary switch, right? They're not using cherry switches or even the Logitech green or whatever the fuck switches anymore, right? This must be
I think they're two different switches. I think the Razer is optical, and this one is something called an analog. In the Wooding is analog, and the and the Huntsman is some optical.
But
shit.
it's just they're new. They're not. So we're moving beyond cherry switches.
Yeah, they're not like cherry reds. Yeah,
allowing the switch to instantly reset the moment it starts lifting up. This feels leaps and bounds more intuitive to play on, and since the majority of keyboard input lag leaps and bounds instantly reset the moment it starts lifting up. This feels leaps and
it's not even looking. I thought that there was going to be like a very low like reset, but it's not. It's the second it changes direction.
Bounds more intuitive to play on, and since the majority of
it's nothing to do with hardware. It's just a simple software script.
You're
completely incorrect. There's no way that software can detect the physical location of the key. You have to have hardware to detect where the key is going. You fucking retard. Sorry.
Keyboard input lag is
he said
actually
it so
the
confidently also. Isn't
of
that
the
impressive?
switch. It offers literally multiple frames of lower latency pressing and releasing switches. It offers literally multiple frames of lower latency pressing and releasing switches.
Okay, 40 ms latency. Okay, so there's a 30 difference.
But there's actually one more thing. On the Wooding, it is still technically possible to overlap your movement keys. If you start pressing one direction before releasing the other, you're technically actuating both keys at the same time, and in most games, this will give you no input. The chance of this happening is way lower than a regular mechanical keyboard, but it is still there, and that is where this new feature from Razer comes in, called SnapTap. It only activates your last pressed input, now making it impossible to overlap your movement keys. If you hold down one key and then press the opposite direction without releasing the other, you'll just start moving in that new direction. There is no movement overlap at all, and there's also no delay between the left and right movement. You can be moving in one direction on one frame and then instantly get an input in the opposite direction, literally the next frame. No other keyboard can do this. Now in Counter-Strike, the most important movement technique to learn is called counter-strafing. It's when you release one movement key and then tap the opposite one to stop moving as soon as you possibly can.
Because in CS, if you hold strafe and then you just let go and you let your character float a bit and you shoot, your aiming is super inaccurate. So you have to tap the counter strafe button to center yourself so that you can actually shoot where the crosshair is pointed, I think.
In this game, you only have full accuracy at 0 movement velocity or very close to it.
I don't know why
so
the fuck I just smack up.
the sooner you can stop moving, the sooner you can fire an accurate shot. And this technique takes a lot of practice. It looks easy if you've never tried it before, but consider the precise timing that you need to release and press that new switch.
You don't really need to learn that shit, though. You just got to buy a P90 every round and jump and shoot. And before, P90 doesn't even exist in this game anymore.
Single time in the heat of a game with no movement overlap and no delay between those inputs. It is legitimately something
This keyboard seems useless for real games like Guitar Hero. Okay.
that you could still be.
If this is so revolutionary, what's the reason it hasn't been done before? So for the person that said that it wasn't, that it was software, not hardware, a keyboard switch is, my understanding technologically, is all you have is a device. And on this device, on this printed circuit board, you basically have a bunch of inputs, and all you do is there's a switch, and when the switch is active, okay, it moves from a 0 to a 1, it's sending an input, and then when it's not active, it moves to whatever, and that's it. That's a keyboard, right? Now, there are a ton of different ways to actuate that switch. Actuate meaning you activate it, you push the thing and it activates. But all you can do is basically send 1 or 0. You're either sending a yes, this button is being pushed, or you're sending a no, this button's not being pushed. That's it. Yes or no. Yes or no. If you want to cheat past that point, you might be able to use clever software tricks to get around that, but at the end of the day, that's all the key can do. Now, it sounds like what this keyboard can do is there's a lot more data that's being sent per key press now. It's not just sending you a yes or a no. It's sending you like a value of how far depressed is this switch, and then it's updating that value. Obviously, right? It's what would you call it, a refresh or whatever?
I think you would say it would be the direction at all points. Like,
I'm just saying that it's not sending you just it's not just sending a 1 or a 0. It's going to be sending like, we'll say it'll be sending like 1 through 100, and it'll be updating it'll be polling every microsecond or whatever the fuck, right? So instead, it's saying like your switch might be at 1 1 1 1 1 1 because it's not pressed at all, and it might be like 2 3 4 5 6, right? And then it's sending this, so it's seeing the switch being depressed, and then it's seeing it not being depressed. So the keys themselves now are sending way more information than they used to be. So insofar as like, why hasn't this been done before? Either it's too expensive, or that'd be my guess. Probably just too expensive. I wonder how much this keyboard costs. It's got to be at least $200, if not.
Yep, $200.
Okay, well, I say that, but that's not even really that much. I don't know why it hasn't been done before. Maybe the technology just wasn't available or something before. I'm not sure.
Overlap and no delay between those inputs. It is legitimately something that you could still be improving.
Oh, actually, one thing I can guess, okay, moving outside of my area of understanding that well, but it might be that I don't know if the Windows kernel matters so much now that we use USB for keyboards as opposed to the PS2 input, but it might be that operating systems expect to interface with keyboards in a particular way, and so a typical OS doesn't recognize sophisticated logic coming from a keyboard, and that's just not built into any of like the standard OS interpretations of it. So maybe that's why people didn't do it, and they found a software around it. That's a super guess in the air. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know.
I would guess this has to be done mostly in the I would assume there's probably a processor in the keyboard itself that just sends activated or not activated. That's it, right? You don't need software on the computer to understand that. There's only 2 modes, on or off, right? The keyboard can decide, is this going down or is it going up, and kind of go from there. But it probably is that.
Oh, no, you're right, actually. Yeah, actually, absolutely none of this has to be done on the computer. You're 100% correct. All this logic could theoretically be handled on the keyboard without
but
any...
I think you're right, too, also, in that the computer can communicate with the keyboard to, like, find out the adjustable ranges and shit like that as well. So like for instance,
yeah, but if it's setting it, it's probably just changing the logic on the board. It's not actually like interpreting information coming from the keyboard. The keyboard probably just sends it. Like once it's getting to the computer probably just sees it as absolutely ordinary keyboard inputs, right?
Yeah, I would think so along those lines.
after thousands of hours of playing this game. This keyboard though can do it perfectly every single time with like no effort. All you need to do is be moving in one direction and tap the opposite direction, and you get a perfect counter strafe every single time. And I don't mean like perfect as in like kind of perfect, I mean frame by frame. This is as perfect of a counter strafe as the game engine will allow. So here's a bit of a counter strafing simulation between the Razer Huntsman Mini V3 and the Wooding 60. These two solenoids will perform a strafe and a counter strafe, so we can see which keyboard will
I mean, like it is an interesting question though. Why hasn't this happened before? Maybe nobody just had the idea, I guess. This is kind of a clever idea, but
Yeah, I mean that could be literally just be it.
Destiny, you're wrong. This just simply isn't how it works. It's called optical keyboard because there's a camera inside that's sent to someone
a
who
fucking
manually
moron.
says
Hey.
what key you are pressing. The OS doesn't
Oh,
press
I
thing.
see.
Good job.
I think that's
give us the better
You think so?
movement.
Yeah, I
And to
think
kind
so.
of simulate human error, I've added a tiny
That was
bit
clever,
of
though. That was a
overlap.
ban almost.
Basically, if you were to start pressing one key without lifting the other immediately, which is way more common than you might think, especially under the pressure of a competitive game, even for a pro player. And yeah, we can see a difference. Razer's snap tap gets us back to full weapon accuracy roughly 60 to 70 milliseconds faster. And maybe more importantly here, there are several frames where you'll be at full accuracy on the Razer, but almost full spread on the Wooding. And then in Overwatch, where you don't have counter strafing, but you do have instant changes in direction, it's a very similar result. Not something that's easily noticeable in real time, but keep in mind this is the exact same input happening on both keyboards.
Holy shit. What if this is the keyboard that Dream used?
But with a different result. I've also only simulated a tiny bit of overlap of just 50 milliseconds. The worse that overlap is, the more dramatic this result will be. But again, the big thing here is how easy this is to do every single time, and you get a perfect input. I can personally count the number of times that I've played CS. It's enough to know that my movement is pretty bad, but this keyboard turned me into a counter-strafing god within about 5 minutes of practice. It was so easy to
I think you can use the keyboard as a throttle in racing games, so I think some games can see it as analog input. I don't know, when you guys say analog there, I don't know what that means. All the data going over USB.
It's all digital.
Yeah, I don't know what that means when you say analog. I understand for music, we've been talking like waveforms and stuff, or analog audio cable. I don't know what you mean when you say an analog USB connection.
Why would they see analog means continuous? The fuck would that mean?
Well, when you say analog means continuous, what it means is that a waveform is a continuous wave that's drawn, that doesn't have snapshots or estimations on it, but everything coming from a keyboard.
I thought it just meant like a signal versus like a one. It's not. It's like a wave or whatever, not ones and zeros, if that makes sense, right?
Correct. It's
Yeah.
like it should be able to go to a thing. Like if I want a speaker to activate, I have to feed an analog signal into the into which part of the into something that makes the speaker go boom 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 to move it. Right.
It's actually, I think it's the power itself, or it can be the power itself, right? Yeah, because there's speakers that are powered by nothing else but the by the two wires that come in, like headphones.
The 1 to
They're not-
100. Yeah, maybe, yeah. The 1 to 100 thing you talked about earlier is analog. Okay. I don't know if it's ever used that way in any other industry ever, but maybe. Like, would you say 44.1 kilohertz? Would you call that analog? That's digital. Analog just means if you're pressing a key 10% of the way down, it's 10% input registered. Like, imagine. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so everybody's just using analog incorrectly. Okay. Analog just means a continuous signal. I don't actually know. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not sure. Analog versus digital.
Anyways, the big deal, we're right there when they're saying like, oh, it's 70 milliseconds better. They're comparing that to a Wooding keyboard, which is another keyboard that does this like instant release. Now, if you compare that to your keyboard, it's going to be like 200 milliseconds, or mine, or 150 milliseconds or something. That's like the best competitor that they're comparing it to. They're not comparing it to our keyboards. So for us, it's a fucking massive difference.
exact same input happening on both keyboards, but with a different result. I've also only simulated
Like how sticks on controllers are analog sticks, even though they're technically sending a digital signal. Okay, that just doesn't seem like it's. And okay, I don't know. I'm not sure.
A tiny bit of overlap of just 50 milliseconds, the worse that overlap is, the more dramatic this result will be. But again, the big thing here is how easy this is to do every single time, and you get a perfect input. I can personally count the number of times that I've played CS. It's enough to know that my movement is pretty bad, but this keyboard turned me into a counter-strafing god within about 5 minutes of practice. It was so easy to do.
How do you think audio works in a computer? In a computer, audio is transmitted digitally, right? You can't send a perfect waveform through a computer. It's not possible. Do I even want to explain? I don't even know.
You don't need to.
I don't even know if
They're
anybody.
just gonna be like, but I can plug my headphones in.
The 1 to 100 thing is not an analog. That doesn't make an analog. Nothing about that is analog. I don't understand. Yeah, I don't know.
Even under the pressure of a 1v1, this keyboard just did it for me. But then I noticed something that's maybe even more broken. If you hold down one direction and keep tapping the opposite direction, you can do absolutely perfect jiggle strafing. Again here, no input overlapping or delay.
A digital signal is still technically a wave? No. By definition, it's not. It's absolutely not. Digital signals are discrete snapshots. The whole reason why, like when you talk about like a sample rate for audio, that 44.1 or that 48,000, that's how many different snapshots you're taking of a particular wave to try to approximate the wave. That's why it's digital versus analog. And analog, like if you were to measure a sound wave in real life, you would just have a continuous like measurement of a thing. But on a digital wave is going to be an approximation of what the actual analog sound wave sounds like, right? That's why. Hold on. Never mind. Go ahead.
It's brutally easy to do, and if you stay within the right dead zone in Counter-Strike, you still technically have full accuracy. It makes micro-correcting with little strafe inputs absurdly easy. You can do perfect jiggle peaks around corners with like no effort at all, and you're a lot harder to hit compared to just standing still or crouching. It's kind of busted in Overwatch as well. I mean, it's like the most insane strafe spam that I've personally ever seen. This kind of strafe with no error or delay is actually impossible on any other keyboard unless you're a robot. The usefulness of this in an actual competitive match though is definitely up for debate, but used in a more normal way where you're actually dodging and mirroring enemy input, it does definitely feel like a more responsive and clean input. Now this snap tap feature, this way of only prioritizing your last pressed input, is actually nothing new. It's been around for a while in both Team Fortress 2 and Counter-Strike with something called null cancelling movement. It's a script which basically does the same thing on pretty much any keyboard, and at least in CS, it wasn't allowed in competition. This new keyboard though, apparently is allowed at the highest level of ESL tournaments, which is going to be interesting for sure. For most people who are just going to be using this to rank up online though, I don't think that this is like bannable or even detectable because it's doing it at a hardware level. Maybe I'm wrong there, but yeah, I think we're at an interesting point in time with gaming keyboards especially, where game developers and tournament referees need to look at this stuff and actually decide whether it is broken for their particular game. Especially the way that it can be used to AD spam so quickly and so accurately with no error. Yeah, I don't know, that's just not normal. For those that play Valorant though, there's actually nothing to worry about here because Razor's snap tap is actually not that useful. Counter-strafing in Valorant is nowhere near as strong as in CS. You do get slightly shorter animations, but yeah, rapid trigger has a much greater effect here. At the very least, it is a nice feature that means that you will never be overlapping inputs, but that's pretty much it. Now, Wooting does have a kind of similar feature to this called Rappy Snappy. It's similar in the way that it won't let you overlap inputs, but instead it prioritizes the furthest pressed input, not the last pressed input like Razor. Wooting's version is pretty harmless, at least for FPS games. It's not too beneficial since most people are going to be pressing their movement keys to full depth. Otherwise, this thing is seriously OP, especially for CS. I can see why a few pro players don't want this thing to be included in competition. Game movement, after all, is a skill. Just like your aim, it takes thousands of hours to get it to a really competitive level. With this keyboard though, you're kind of cheat coding your way to a perfect input. I mean, the fact that I can pick up this keyboard and have like actually better strafing inputs than some pro players out there, that does make this feel kind of broken.
Okay, I think the answer is analog is just a fun term that people use to represent like ranges of values because it sounds cooler than digital. Okay, that's the actual answer. All right.
Does sound cooler.
Okay.
Nubius, I know. I bought the Wudang. Basically, the competitor to this released their own version of this yesterday, and then I bought that keyboard because it's better. I got the full size one though. It's gonna be really effective for my roof camping, like the ability to like really quick and up and down, you know? Oh, it's just gonna be amazing.
True. Oh, Dr. K. Or wait, oh, we'll do that later.
We gotta stay friends. Dr. House, though, do you really think he's like, if there was a Dr. House in the real world,
This will
do you
cause
think,
the bridge burning, Dan. Don't do it. Not
do you,
house.
no, I want to ask you something more pragmatic. Do you think he would even remain a doctor, or do you think he would be fired like years ago?
He would be fired on probably like day 2. I think he would be
that's
fired. There are like
He'd be uninsurable.
there's at least one huge thing that happens in the House world that makes it so that House can do what he does. Do you know what it is? There's one thing. I'll give you 3 guesses, or you can just tell me to tell you.
Wait. Ask me the question
What
again.
makes it so that House is able to function the way that he does and operate with impunity? Why does it work in his world? And the answer isn't
guess-
something like, oh, because he's got plot armor. There's a specific in-world reason why.
Like, I guess you could say tenure, but the board can still vote you out.
Nope,
Like, as
not
to why you do
tenure.
that.
It's a medical
can
related
we-
thing.
Autism?
It's because when a patient is brought into the hospital, the only thing that can ever kill the patient is the particular disease that they were brought in for. That's it. When you're working with a patient like that, that means that you have carte blanche to do almost any type of testing or symptom inducement you want with no penalties. How many times does House bring in a patient and he's like, oh, well, we don't know if it's this or this. Let's do this to give him a heart attack and then we'll be able to confirm, right? Or let's do this and it'll cause him a stroke, or he'll have a seizure, or let's kill his immune system and then we'll let the disease run rampant and then we can tell which disease it is. They can always test that way and they will never, ever, ever die. Every code always resolves positively. Every surgery always works 100% of the time. No heart attack, no stroke, nothing like that ever kills or causes permanent lasting damage in a patient. That's the reason why they can, why so many of the crazy testing and things that they do operate like in that environment. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
But obviously not reality.
No, yeah, you would never. Yeah, the second you try to, you would have one patient like, oh, well, I thought that if I did this, and I thought that if I did this and made him sicker, I could figure out which bacteria it was. And it was like,
confirm
okay,
my
well, you confirmed it,
Hashimoto's.
but then he
Oh,
died. Yeah, he
And now
died
you're
while
going
that
to jail.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's a question. Would you want Dr. House to be your doctor if you were sick? Or would you be like, no, I'm good. I'll take like, who else do you got over there? Someone who's never had a reprimand. One of them, please. I don't, it's definitely like, I feel like he'd be like, you went to Costa Rica 25 years ago. I want to test for this. Like, just my leg hurts.
Have you watched that the new the Good Doctor show or whatever, the autism doctor?
No, it looks so bad. It's not actually good, is it? Please, actually,
I
two
started
questions.
watching. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay, go ahead,
I'm getting.
go ahead.
I fucked myself. I never put TikTok on my phone because I didn't. I think actually Aaron's in chat. I think you open TikTok like one time on your phone, and I'm like, never again. I can like lose like 12 hours in TikTok. It's like it's deadly. But I started doing the YouTube Shorts spin now, and now I realize like fuck me. I like sit in bed, and all of a sudden like 2 hours has passed. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? But I've started watching clips of The Good Doctor. You know what? It actually seems like an okay show. It really does. Seems like an okay show.
I have a question about a show, and I need a real chat answer. And if you mean 2-day ban, okay?
You got 1 minute. I gotta go do this debate. So go ahead.
Yeah, good. Okay. I like Star Wars. I think I've liked every show that Disney has put out of Star Wars to date. Some of them were better than others, but for the most part, they were all fine. I haven't watched The Acolyte yet because the hatred of it online is so much that I'm like, Oh, I don't know if I even want to try it. So the question is it just a bunch of like conservative people that are losing their mind over nothing and it's a good show? Or is it actually like Bill Nye sex junk tier? There you go.
There you go. I have no idea. I haven't watched it, so.
I'll take ratings. You guys can put like number out of 10. Like 1 being garbage, sex junk, 10
Damn,
being
I'm gonna leave this on.
Andor.
Okay, I'm gonna go do
You're gonna be gone for an hour,
yeah, because I have to do a debate.
and you're gonna leave your stream on.
They said they wanted me to.
Okay, let's find something good to put the stream to for an hour.
No, I
So that
can't.
means
I'm gonna be talking. I can't have something playing in my fucking headphones. It's just gonna be sitting here on the AFK screen.
Wait, you're gonna be here using the computer, but I'm confused.
Do you know how like OBS works, or
I understand how OBS works. Wait, so why can't you stream whatever you're doing?
because it's
What is it?
David Pakman's content. He wants to put on his YouTube channel.
Oh, I see. Well, why don't you do it? Damn. And there's no way that you could play a video here and have it not. There is a way. that
There
you could
is, but
play
I
a
don't have time
video.
to sort it out right now because I have a debate. I gotta go in 30 seconds. Love you. Bye. Jesus. Okay. Good luck, I guess. I don't know why I'm leaving this on. Hello, Mr. President. Wait.